You're welcome to First Take. My name is Jifa Bampo. Today we're in conversation with the Honorable Deputy Majority Leader in Parliament, Honorable Alexander Afenyo Markin. He's also the Member of Parliament for Efutu in the Central Region. We speak to him about key issues happening on the national front. All that coming up over the next 1 hour. My name is Jifa Bampo. Thank you for joining us on First Take. And many thanks for making some time for us on First Take.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on your program. I consider it a privilege to be on your network. Thank you so much.
Thank you too, sir, for having us. So it's been an interesting first session of Parliament, and what's been your experience so far as leader, Deputy Majority Leader for this, Parliament?
Well, the effort to reach out to build consensus. The 8th Parliament is not the kind of parliament that we've experienced since '93. It's 137, with an independent joining the MPP side to form a majority caucus. It means that you would have to engage the other side, explain issues, make sure that you build consensus, let the best come out of you in your negotiations, all in the interest of the nation. So I would say that it's been humbling, it's been tedious, it's been stressful, but it's worth it because you're able to take the views of the other side. It's not the usual, riding over a minority, but you have to engage because it's only through that government business can continue. So that has been it. And it also helps you to share information, tap into somebody's experience. And I would say that so far, so good. Yes, speakership. I mean, you have people had their own concerns about Speaker Bagbin. Is an NDC-sponsored speaker, is a leader in the NDC fraternity, whether or not he's going to be impartial. I would say so far commendable. We've had some few issues with his ruling, but that is what it is. So we hope that he will do more to ensure inclusiveness, and we have no doubt in his ability to do that. There's more room for improvement.
Now let's look at some other key issues affecting Parliament. Now, the CDD Ghana released a recent post-election survey, and there was, interestingly, a major focus on the 8th Parliament and the interesting peculiarities which you have made reference to in terms of the near-split nature of the seats. Ghanaians are concerned about whether MPs will connive on issues to suit themselves instead of in the public interest. And so in as much as they do say that the executive will be kept in check, there's a concern about potential connivance on the part of members of Parliament in spite of the near-split nature and in spite of the consensus you mentioned.
How would we connive?
Well, I guess that some of the concerns relate to members of the executive who came before you for vetting, for instance. There was a feeling that some shouldn't have gone through, but MPs on the appointments committee, got together and came to a certain agreement, even though some members of the public may feel one person or the other may not be eligible. Not eligible, that's the wrong word. Should not be ministers, even though the president, of course, has the position to choose.
Well, I think it has to do with educating the public on constitutional issues. You see, on the matter of nominees appearing before the vetting committee, you just cannot disqualify somebody merely because you are unimpressed with his responses, or that his grammar was bad, or that he was not too intelligent. To you, the way he answered questions. The grounds for disqualification are constitutional. And these grounds must be well-founded before you invoke that power of the committee and even the plenary. So I think that bit is what is lost on the public. So they will conclude this way. You see, when we work, we all go through that rigorous, interrogation of issues. At the end of the day, to say that you don't support a particular position, you, the individual, must come up with a compelling position and even backed by evidence. So I think that, yes, as MPs, we must explain issues to them, our people, that when they hear us debating heated arguments, it does not mean that we are breaking shoulders. It does not mean that we should use that debate as a basis to obstruct government business. They should appreciate the fact that we want to enrich the work of government. We want to make government do things better. So if they see that we are agreeing, same must not be interpreted to mean connivance. And I think that on this matter, we ourselves must be all out there to explain to the Ghanaian public that agreeing on matters on the House floor basically is done in the public interest. Because if we don't, for instance, government is going to procure a facility to construct roads, and a section of the House says we will not allow, we will obstruct and all that. At the end of the day, the road will not be constructed. But if members say that, look, we are concerned about the costs, go renegotiate. We are concerned about the design, go fix it. And these are taken into consideration. Obviously, they would take it that their views have been well considered and the loan will pass. So, oftentimes, I get the impression that to the public, their understanding of this whole debate is that, at the end of the day, must be a deadlock.
Or it shouldn't happen. There must be a winner or a loser.
There must be a winner or a loser. So once they are working together, it means that, there is something, there's some, whatever as you call it, connivance. But no, we have been in opposition before. And I recall our seniors we came to meet. The first time we got in, they told us, look, in Parliament, you don't obstruct government business. State your position, get it on board, and that is how come, Jifar, you may recall, that in my days in opposition, either I get my views registered on the House floor, or where I think government is being unreasonable, I go to the Supreme Court. And that is what I did. So as an MP, you have these various tools available. File a question, make a statement, file a motion. If you lose, or the interpretation or the view taken a side that you feel strongly about it, you go to Supreme Court for interpretation. So if you check my record, that has been my style. And in all of this, you demonstrate to the public that, look, it is not to obstruct, but to make government business better. I think that that is a way to go. And in government, we try to put that across to our colleagues on the other side. Let's disagree, but come on board.
Okay. Now,
if you look at Sputnik, we had a consensus report, but everybody's view in the report was well registered. So you cannot say that, when MPs agree in the interest of the nation, it amounts to connivance.
Okay. Now, just in relation with that and staying with that a bit more, how can we trust the due diligence that will be done in Parliament? And I make this reference particularly to the criticism that has followed the GMPC and ACRE deal, because there's a view that in as much as it's important that we develop capacity to operate our own block and field to generate revenue for the country, we must do it based on a sound value for money. One field, for instance, we are told, is a development field, and so investing the 350 million in it is not bad. That's the Pecan field. But the Nyankomon field, for instance, is an exploratory field. We don't know exactly what's down there. So there's a certain concern that maybe this attempt to cooperate may be seen as connivance if there isn't enough due diligence done on the GNPC acre deal.
You see, Jifa, I am one person who will at any day, on any day, support the work of CSOs and the media, to the extent that the interrogation is aimed at keeping our feet to the fire. That is why when a politician is on his official assignment, the CSO man is also there monitoring. The media eye is monitoring. What is it all about? As you rightly said, this matter came to the House floor. Government needed a mandate of Parliament to go and negotiate. They brought every document. I am surprised that leading figures in the minority, who, as part of the due diligence, are being given the necessary information, CSOs that had issue with it are being, quote unquote, being educated, being informed, would jump the gun and create the impression that engaging the other side to ensure that your concerns are well registered amount to having been, quote unquote, bribed. That is unfortunate.
Have members of Parliament been bribed to push this through?
How can that be? Who is bribing who? So must we not build consensus to move the nation forward?
Oh, certainly we must.
So is it the case that it's when there's a deadlock that you see that, okay, there's nation building?
Okay, but there's a concern that the valuation put on these are too high.
Whoever is coming has some tangibles to back that claim should come on board. So far, you are in the media. Has any CSO specifically come out with some information to counter what is being put out there by government?
ASEP has indicated that these blocks would be valued no more than some 500 to 600 million US dollars.
On what basis?
Partly because when ACRE came into the country, they procured these blocks from Hess Petroleum at a value of some 100 million US dollars. They feel that ACRE has not produced any evidence to demonstrate that they've invested as much as $800 million in these blocks. So I guess those are some of the due diligence requirements that we're just wondering if the committee and the House would do.
I think that these are speculative views. I stand to be corrected, but if they have documents, any research findings to support their claim, any technical report to support their claim, I'll be happy to interrogate it. I will be happy to interrogate. But for now, they are merely talking. You are talking about Mr. Thompson's...
no, sorry. ASEP is the...
No, Mr. Thompson has, that's...
So Mr. Thompson has
what is it?
So I'm talking...
ASEP or something?
So ASEP, that's Bemboachi's group.
Yes, so yes. I'm saying that let him come out with that technical report. Because you see, it's not merely the advocacy which would generally look at what you like and what you don't like. Beyond the general advocacy, come out with a technical report to strongly put your case across. I will be happy to read.
Okay. I understand Bank of America has been asked to do one more look at the value for money argument. Yes.
Yes. So that should tell you that there's an enhanced due diligence ongoing, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Now, a final issue about Parliament, and I know this may not sit squarely with the House, but there are some who are concerned about the high attrition rate in the House. Certainly, this has to do with political parties and obviously who they put up and who gets elected finally. But is this a matter that in Parliament you will seek alternative ways to enhance so that we don't lose very experienced members of Parliament as well?
Well, my own view on this simply is that, first, as politicians, we must know the demands on us. when we get in. And we must take research serious.
So the CDD research, which points to that as well, is something that you should all,
yes,
be looking at.
You see, people have diverse expectations.
Over expectations?
Diverse, I will put it. And when we come in, they expect you to do A, B, C, and D. To me, one way to survive this is to have a good research, a reliable one, that will guide you as a member of parliament. The research findings will guide you in the sense that you then will know that this is what you have to do, this is what we have to do, and all that. If you don't get it,
you have to do, so you are not punished at the polls.
Exactly. If you take it for granted, you pay dearly. In 2020 elections, my good friend Kennedy Japo and I commissioned Imani to do some research for us in Central Region. The report clearly was that presidential 19 seats, president was winning in 19 constituencies, and the parliamentary was not good at all. Clearly there was skirt and blouse. And when the report came, I would say boldly, publicly, that was only one person who took his research findings serious, the Asen South in Team Fojo, because it was so bad. And when he looked at it, he said he was going to work on it. And see, he managed to pull through. I looked at the report, and until the research findings came, I didn't know that there were some areas that needed certain things.
In your constituency?
In my constituency. In my constituency. And there's a particular community in Switch. That's where my maternal great-grandfather comes from. I had done some big projects, and I thought that those projects will fetch me victory, absolute victory, overwhelming victory. When the research came out, I realized that it was neck and neck, and that they needed something else, and that was their focus. True to it, on election day, when everything was counted, I won by just 7 votes, which confirmed what they were saying. Akosia village, for many times I was losing. I said, my dad is in Ewe. I come to you. When my dad was in Winneba, he was relating well with you. Why is it that each time I come, you vote against me? The same research taught me certain things and responded to the research. Akosia village, for the first time, voted for me and voted for President Akufo-Addo. So we won. All I try to say here is that if you get timely feedback, you engage professional researchers to go behind you and do real research, and you rely on that research as a bitter pill, you will never fail as a politician.
So yes. The new Patriotic Party has kicked off its calendar, and it's been holding these constituency conferences and culminating in the regional conference. I think that's next week.
That's correct.
That's next week. So one of the things I know is supposed to happen as part of that whole process is to get feedback.
Exactly.
Is to get feedback and act upon it. I raise it because one of the key issues emerging, twofold, the contest for the flag bearership and also the contest for national positions. I know there's a guideline guiding the flag bearership, but there's none for the national leadership like chairperson or chairman, general secretary and all that. Is that something that you would like to see?
Well, I think because of the flag bearership thing, the impression is that it's only limited to that. It's for flag bearership election, parliamentary primaries, and all other elections. To me, it's good we have that. It brings some sanity. It helps all of us because you see, a successful internal election will only help in the general election. If you bruise yourself so much in an internal election, you even arm your opposition to use that against you. So there is always the need to guide the process so that in the long run, we don't divide the party
Some people have already declared intention for national chairmanship and the like. Should the party be telling people not to do that?
Well, I will leave that decision to the General Secretary and the steering committee. But I think that all of us owe it a duty to the party to act within the laws of the party and the rules that guide us as members.
So how realistic is it to expect that the new Patriotic Party can break the 8-year governance convention that we have put in place?
Have we put in place?
It's a convention. Or should I say Ghanaians have kept it as a convention?
Oh, well, yes. You see, let me talk a bit of politics. It depends on how we manage our success story. And it depends on how we communicate to them. NDC, as a political party, has had the opportunity to govern for 16 years. Today, if you ask any NDC activist at any level to tell you a single social intervention policy initiated, implemented, and sustained, you would have none. If you ask the ordinary Ghanaian to tell you any social intervention policy implemented by MPP successfully, you would have many. One, they will mention school feeding. Two, they will refer to Metro Mass, became known as Kufuor Bus. Three, they will mention national health insurance. These were key interventions that were introduced in our governance system that brought relief. The free maternal care that came in. Then also you would hear the youth employment. This whole issue about the youth employment thing that was introduced, we bringing in a company like Zoom Lion and all that. It was Kufuor's initiative. And until that, there was no such hope for even temporary work for those at the lowest ebb of fortune's wheel. Then came Akufo-Addo. I have said, and at the risk of being repetitive, I will restate. Everything that was said by Akufo-Addo on his campaign platform, everything that was said, stated in the manifesto, and I want you to refer to it and tell me that, Alex, we did a fact check and you got it wrong. Every single thing that was said as a major policy intervention has been implemented by Akufo-Addo. Free SHS, which our friends, the naysayers, said, well, it's 419, has been implemented, has been successful. The graduate unemployment situation, the NAPCO, the Nation Builders Corps, it has introduced a relief of a sort to the many who otherwise would have been sitting at home desperate, and they are getting the opportunity. So I'm saying that whereas we don't have a perfect system today, whereas the system is still a source of worry, people are still in poverty, people are still desperate, there is still some level of unemployment, there is still problems in our various constituencies. The relief that government has brought has made the situation better than it would have been. Therefore, if we have two parties competing, and you have NDC that was there and said that these things were impossible, and they are now asking for power, the question that you ask them is that, so what are you going to do different? NDC was in power. The private sector needed some impetus, needed some momentum, needed a certain level of energy. This government said one district, one factory. In real terms, this has culminated in government introducing reliefs for the private sector.
Okay, you attracting investment in there. One factory, yes. But isn't it the truth that as part of that whole engagement, yes, there are a number of factories that have just been rebranded? Factories that were already existing. There have also been some new factories coming up, but even that, we've seen the commissionings come in only in the last year or so.
Because a factory doesn't start today and get completed today.
And then there was the promise of the 1D, 1F, which some felt government was going to build factories from scratch. The promise was, for want of a better word, the narrative around it was amended. So there's a view that, yes, you did make the promise and you are commissioning some of it, but you've not been, it was not clear-cut that you were going to be relying on private sector.
Okay, Jifa, sure, we have to look at it broadly and in context. One, when a factory is even rebranded with new injection of capital, what does it do? It creates a new employment platform. So that in itself is a success story. Granted that concerns by people are correct. I'm saying that if you rebrand, you create a new opportunity. The essence of it is to create employment. So that is one. Two, you don't take a day to build a factory and commission. So when government initiates and within 3 years it's completed and it's commissioned, it's just within time. The issue of government having to build, you see, the role of government is to create an enabling environment. So for instance, Exim facility is there. Government is saying that bring your proposal and let us give you a cheaper source of capital. So instead of going to the commercial bank, where you are going to pay interest of say 30%, with Exim, government giving guarantees for your import of raw materials, or import of your machinery and all that, and giving you also tax rebates and all that, you are going to have it as say a single digit interest, so 9%, 7%. That is a relief for you as a businessman, so that you can have cheaper funding, build your business, expand it. In all of these, government is supporting the Ghana Infrastructure Fund, which is also there. It's another pool. We have the Venture Capital Fund, we have the Maslock for traders, and the NBSSI, which was for recently
enterprise activities.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is now an enterprise agency, national enterprise agency, whatever. You look at it that even in the COVID era, government did something unique. People were allowed to register independently online with their momos, and they received monies as a way of capital support because of the COVID situation. It was not done on partisan lines, where they would say that, oh, each MP bring 100 names. The temptation would be that you go and bring your party members. But the portal was open. That should tell you something. So I'm saying that if you want to compare and have a good debate, yes, the situation is not what we expect, but the alternative, is the alternative better? I would simply say that the alternative is zero. So now the question to my colleagues in the end is, what is new? What is new? What is the game changer? Tell us. Because we didn't hide it. Put it on the table. Tell us that when you get the opportunity, you are going to introduce this social intervention program, which will translate into this. They should tell us. So far, it's been criticism, 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 and the general language of corruption. And they have no alternative.
So, Honorable Afenyo Markin, let me come back to you on the issues relating to government and what government has been doing. In the last 2 months, the big game in town has been Agenda 111, the Akufo-Addo government's big plan to provide some 111 hospitals, district hospitals, regional hospitals, psychiatric hospitals in districts across the country and in other regions. There's been some criticism that you are building these 111 hospitals, yet there remain many hospitals that seem abandoned. They are not in operation. They are either closed or health workers haven't been employed for them. And TV3 has run a number of stories over the last 1 week pointing out each and one of these hospitals. How do you justify this project when other hospitals remain unopened or not in use?
Okay, so the Agenda 111 basically is a major health policy to bring healthcare right at the doorstep of the ordinary Ghanaian. These hospitals are not going to be built in areas where there are hospitals yet to be completed. So we have to look at it in context and in a proper perspective. They are going to be built in areas that there is none. So that is one. Two, if somebody says that government has abandoned hospitals, I would disagree. Government has produced documents to the effect that not less than 55 hospital projects that were at various stages of completion have since been completed and commissioned. Government has produced documents to that effect when this issue came up last year. And nobody has challenged this to date. However, there are still some projects, health facilities that are yet to be completed. Government, through the health ministry, has publicly stated that it has plans to ensure that all these facilities are put to use. Some of these projects started from Kufuor's time and at a point got truncated, repackaged, and on and on and on. So the impression should not be created that, oh, what we even have, we've abandoned and now want to create our own. No.
But isn't it the case that these hospitals are also being built following taunting by the opposition, that especially in the era of COVID, many hospitals that the government had not opened now were the life-saving facilities for many, even including senior government officials?
A government has a responsibility to put its own mark on the national space. So, if government says that, one, I've introduced free SHS, I've successfully implemented it. Two, I have initiated an entrepreneurial policy ensuring that there is a growth, that there is private sector development and secondary production, and I've been successful, then let me go to the area of health and do something for the people, infrastructure. So, Agenda 111. It is a government's bona fide, and you can't take it away from me, the president. Yes, somebody can criticize. It is right to criticize, say your own views. But the government, within its term, says that I am rolling out this as the next agenda I have. Meanwhile, I have completed a lot more of yours that I came to inherit. I have not abandoned them. I have completed them. I've put them to use. There are some that I have to deal with. Meanwhile, there are areas that have zero, but I need to put something there, and I am doing. There's nothing wrong in my view with respect.
There's a concern about even the current administration's ability to actually complete these projects in the slated 18 months that it has planned for, partly because of funding issues. We all know that currently the country is reeling under some, 333 billion cedis in debt, and we are spending 1.8 billion on these hospitals. There's a concern that even if the government will finish some of these hospitals, at the most, you will finish 20 and not the 111 by the end of this term.
A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. Let's even take it that by year 4, government out of the 111 has been able to complete just one. It has taken a step. I don't want to be a pessimist, and I don't want people to doubt the commitment of government in improving infrastructure in the health sector. Let us together commit to it. 2, government has ways of running an economy, has ways of generating revenue. So when it means government having to take certain drastic actions, taking certain steps with a view to getting these hospitals completed, I'm sure government will do that.
we've had the Fix the Country movement being pushed by young people, concerned about the high level of unemployment. I know you've mentioned NAPCO, but the concern is for sustainable jobs. There's also been high labor turbulence in the country. And we know that...
labor turbulence, I'm not too sure.
Yes, there's been UTAG, universities have been on strike.
The turbulence, if you say turbulence, that I disagree, but it doesn't mean that the
okay,
labor
there's
front
been labor agitation.
Agitation, I mean, yes.
So there's been labor agitation as well, you know, in reference to remuneration, conditions of service. How do you respond to these issues?
Well, when people agitate about how they see things in the country, these matters are not matters that we all don't experience.
You said you went to a watching joint
they are
and
real.
you experienced...
Yes, in Winneba.
Yes.
And they are real matters. If somebody tells you that there's unemployment, it is true. If somebody tells you that he cannot put food on the table for his children, it is true. What can we do as a nation to sell the success story in respect of the intervention we've put in place, which without them, the situation would have been worse? So, labor front, agitation, we want more salary. You see, a minute ago, told me that we are highly indebted. Our debt situation is bad. Government would have to pay more to the worker. How would government pay? Through tax or loans? If we
or by cutting government expenditure
in certain areas.
Yes.
I agree. So what I'm saying is that COVID has brought its own havoc, which none of us can deny. There was a steady growth in the economy. From 2017, 18, you could see that the economic indicators were all positive. Until, unfortunately, we had COVID, where businesses got affected. I am a businessman, a lawyer. The number of cases that were coming to chambers went down sharply. It's now that we are getting some clients coming in. The same way somebody else is suffering. Look at imports. Today, freight charges have skyrocketed. You can't pay. A container that was going to cost you, say, $2,000 from China to Ghana or from India, they are now talking $12,000 and all that. Even out there. So when you have all of these situations and you come back here, prices will definitely go up. And procurement costs would also go up because government would have to spend more to buy its supplies. Companies are unable to expand because of market demands have gone down as a result of COVID. How do they employ more? Now, in all of these, the reason why I talked about the fact that we are not telling our success story well is to the fact that if you look at the security agencies, this NPP government has successfully recruited more Ghanaian youths into our security agencies. Military, fire, immigration, police.
But you know there's also been a criticism of
Listen,
that by
it would
your
always
colleagues
come.
on the opposition.
It would always come.
It was not public. They are not sure who got in.
Ziva, I am talking about Ghanaian youth. Have they said those who were employed are not Ghanaians? Have they raised anybody not qualifying as a Ghanaian? Let us be fair. I am saying that much as my brothers are out there talking about fix the country, and they are right in asking us to fix the country, we've had more opportunity for the same Ghanaian youth even being recruited into the security services more than it happened in the last administration.
The finance minister in his mid-year budget review mentioned that there's an entrepreneurial program that will be initiated to provide 2 million jobs under the Obatampa program over the next 2 years. And there's been criticism of that from the youth, saying we want sustainable jobs because it's only people in formal employment who tell unemployed youth to pursue entrepreneurship. What?
You see, I started life as an entrepreneur.
Maybe not all of us are entrepreneurs.
I agree. I started life as an entrepreneur. And it is only a robust private sector that can help an economic growth. So if we don't encourage the private sector to be successful, we will not make a headway.
Now let me move away from that, and very soon we'll be wrapping up. Now you talk about businesses. One of the key challenges in our economy is procurement malfeasance. In fact, according to the Chamber of Procurement Managers, we lose somewhat 11 billion in procurement malfeasance, and that has been the trend over the last, since 2006. So since 2006 till date, the amount of money that we have lost through procurement malfeasance has come to some 11 billion. One of the key concerns is enforcing the rules and prosecuting corruption. And there's a concern that this current administration is not doing enough of that. I know you said the opposition has been raising that a lot, but it's a major concern, partly because of individuals who've not been prosecuted by the state. The PPA boss, for instance.
Put that even aside and look at public accounts. We receive all manner of reports, Auditor General's reports. But you see, the problem is we over-focus on the politician.
I'm not sure
when
about
we talk
the
about
focus
when we talk about corruption.
Yeah, I don't. It's about public sector corruption.
You have properly described it. Public sector corruption.
It just so happens that the political leaders are the leading lights sometimes, and
become the victims of it. No. I
don't know about victims.
No. That's how I would put it. That's how I put it.
How would you explain the cash for contracts issue, for instance? I know the president sacked Mr. Ejeni Meje, but the truth of the matter is he has not been prosecuted.
Wait.
There are cases that
I don't think that you followed Ajeni Boateng's case. I don't think you followed the ABAJ. ABAJ, somebody in an entity that he has an interest in, engage in some unpalatable act. It isn't that the reason why he had to step aside was the fact that he had not properly declared.
But I beg your pardon, sir. No. Even the Shraj report.
What did he say?
The Shraj report pointed to funds that had come into his account in terms of companies that related to him. I understand you mentioned the other people.
You see, I am a lawyer. I am careful.
These are many companies.
I am saying that as a lawyer, I am careful in what I say when it comes to issues of law.
Okay.
And I want to be fair.
Okay, but I think the main issue is that people have not, it's not just about him alone. There's a view that we've not seen enough prosecutions of people involved in alleged corrupt practices.
See, it is one thing holding a view, and another thing having all the facts which would enable you proceed on probative value to successfully initiate an action in court.
Okay, are you happy with, then maybe I should change the, are you happy with how the current administration is tackling corruption?
Government is relying on institutions, and I have the belief that for government to be successful, all of us must have confidence in the structures we've put in place. Office of the Special Prosecutor is there. Shraj is there. IOCO is there. The police is there. We must rather not crucify our institutions. We must rather not give them names. We must rather not tag them, but encourage them and give them the needed support. CSOs, media, must be commending the state institutions, those structures, when they do it well. And when they fail, criticize them specifically. Because you see...
But you didn't say that in the previous administration. You tagged members of the previous administration as being corrupt. You didn't talk about institutions.
Oh.
Not you, I mean.
Government meant institutions. That is why, upon assumption of office, Special Prosecutor's Office was established. If
So
government
you
did
don't
not believe in
so-
institutions, in handling corruption, allegations of corruption and corruption-related matters, government wouldn't have set up that office. So I am saying that let us all together help that office to be functional. How would it function? If we give it the needed support. If some would always target that, oh, these institutions will hold on to the apron tail of government, then we have demeaned it right from the start. It's a democracy. Democracy survives on certain institutional pillars. These pillars must be strengthened. And if the Auditor General has the courage to write reports about things that are going wrong, and Parliament would conduct public hearing into these matters, interrogate people, that should tell you that as a nation, we are moving in a certain direction, positive. But in all of these, I am also looking at the mood of the nation, the populace, that are they satisfied? And that is the question.
The CDG report says the public is not satisfied.
So if you have 60%,
they don't have confidence in the ability of this administration.
So 60%.
To fight
so
corruption.
it's not all Ghanaians.
No.
Good. So it means that as a government, having received this report, that 40% are happy with how you are going, but 60% think that no. So you make the extra effort to now bring 20% or more to your side. And I think that a serious government as Akufo-Addo's government will take this matter on board. The report is not saying zero. It's saying that some 60% still feel that there is this perception of corruption. Now, if a police officer stops somebody on the road and takes money from him, government is to blame. True or false, Jiva?
No, the police is to blame.
No, but in terms of the scope of general corruption, who takes the final blame?
In that instance, actually, the police hierarchy take the blame. And according to the CDD report, the police are always pointed out as being corrupt. And the police always challenge it.
Right. And I'm saying that all
of
this...
Don't blame government for that.
No. At the end of the day, government takes the bullet.
But
because I believe that it's the government who has put the person there.
Because it's also the same way the military is considered the most trusted institution, followed by the president at number 2. They don't blame the president. They don't blame the government for that. Come
to the hospital. If a nurse maltreats you, you are not happy with the nurse. They take some money from you. Extra money, you pay more when they don't give you receipts. You go out of the hospital with a perception of corruption, correct?
By the hospital.
By the hospital. Mm-hmm. When you are being interviewed, when there is a research going on, they talk about corruption. All these things are factored in, and it becomes the conclusion because it is the way people think. And I agree. What can we do? So, Jifa, I am saying that anybody who has a view on a matter, no matter how unpalatable that view would be to government, and for government to take it on board.
So before the last parliamentary session ended, the second deputy speaker indicated that no final decision had been taken on the COVID reports, the parliamentary probe in relation to the minister and the like. I'm just wondering, will that matter be brought back when you resume in October?
Well, it is Speaker's ruling that he has deferred. So we only expect, sorry about that, to say that his ruling has been deferred. He deferred the putting of the question. So when we come and he puts the question as to whether or not the report is to be carried, we'll take a decision.
In reference to that same report, there was a lot of criticism of the health minister that he should have resigned for breaching our procurement laws. That certainly was not part of the terms of reference of the committee, and so, in a sense, they could not have pronounced upon it. But
no, it was part of the terms of reference. The terms of reference, whether or not...
about whether he should remain in position? No.
Okay, very well. But there was an issue of whether or not he complied with provisions of the Procurement Act.
Yes.
But the minister did not breach the procurement law. We never said that. The PPA has not pronounced on the procurement process. You see, the law allows the minister to apply for ratification. And that ratification process has started. The necessary information has been given to PPA. So we indicated in the report that PPA is yet to make a final determination on the matter. So it is wrong for anybody to say that the minister breached procurement laws. He never breached any procurement law.
So what did he breach then?
To us, the Maktoum agreement
Which should have
come to Parliament. But then the minister's explanation was that he took a position that because the COVID emergency committee had been mandated through an enactment to proceed on issues relating to this pandemic, they were relying on that law. But soon thereafter, he also, out of the abundance of caution, wrote to the Attorney General. And Attorney General responded and said, look, you have to go to Parliament. So he was going to come to Parliament for us to do a validation.
But he didn't come.
Well, it was in the process that the whole scrutiny
Okay, the reason why I'm raising these again is you seem to have been his strongest advocate.
No,
in the whole debate. You even said he was trying to save Ghanaian lives. He should be commended.
Well, I was speaking to the fact. I was a strongest advocate of our report. I never said anything outside of my report. You see, as a practitioner in our courts, I would want to look at all sides of the coin. Publicly, the minister stated that government-to-government sources had failed us at the time, and nobody doubts that. Minister stated again that the government had no intention of going to the private sector for vaccines. But at the time when India's situation escalated and everything became desperate, everything got out of hand, everybody became desperate, people wanted solutions, he started receiving all manner of proposals. And he tapped into these proposals. And one of them was Maktoum, who demonstrated proof and capacity by bringing samples. And in the process, went along. Because we were getting high death rates, infection rates were escalating, and we all know that within the period. And this is something that the minister said that nobody has questioned him. No media house has come out to say that, oh, minister, you are lying. Within that period of March, April, everything was normal. So, all right. So it was for me to make these facts known and bring them to visibility. Because people were attacking him that, oh, the man didn't know what he was about. But
it's partly because he's an experienced legislator, a former chairman of the Public Accounts Committee.
Yes, but truth be told,
shouldn't that have even been all the more reason why he stepped aside?
But we told him, no. Issue of stepping aside is not for me. And I won't answer to that. I can answer to my report. Okay. We also told him that, Mr. Minister, no matter how urgent a matter is, engage Parliament. It's in our report. It's in our report. We said that, and we also indicated in the report that in future, no matter the urgency of it, get parliamentary approval and even engage your select committee on health. It was our recommendation that there having been payment to Maktoum, let's proceed to get a refund of the unsupplied doses. It was in our recommendation. And I'm happy to say that, as we speak, those funds have been refunded. Those monies that were paid have been fully refunded to the state. The specific account number that the money came in, the SWIFT and everything, as chair of the committee, I got a copy. And I can say that on good authority. So, to me, I hold a view that in all situations the minister acted in good faith. Now the minister told us again that the government to government arrangement they had deferred the supply to August, and that in fact at that time that the people had even failed to supply. His appetite had come down because August was not far away. As we speak today, we are all aware vaccines are all over, and these are not coming from private sector. These are government to government arrangements. So let us be fair as a country. The man took a decision to save lives at the time. The man took a decision to help manage a situation. And he told us that the 20,000 doses were the ones that those who were going on census, those officers on census were vaccinated with. So, obviously, you cannot say that there was any collusion or whatever. You can't.
So, Honorable Afenyo Markin, you'll come back to Parliament in October.
Yes.
What are your expectations?
Well, to continue what we've started, engage our colleagues on the other side. The work of the majority leadership is not that easy, because everything about government business rests on your shoulders. You don't want your government to fail, which means that you must always cross the aisle and engage. So it's a very tedious work, but also fulfilling when you are able to get your colleague to understand the issue. It's also fulfilling when you're able to get the consensus of your colleague on board. October is a busy month.
What will you be doing?
Well, Winneba will be hosting West Africa, my constituency, the capital of Efutu, will be hosting ECOWAS extraordinary session. It starts from on the 12th to 22nd. All the 115 MPs in the sub-region are coming. We're going to have resource persons coming. The ECOWAS Parliamentary Secretariat will be there. And our president is going to do the opening for the session. So it's going to be a busy month. Of course, it's going to be an opportunity for us in Winneba to sell the Efutu culture. And
sell the Efutu dream.
And sell the Efutu dream, indeed. And then let people know that it's not only the capital cities that there is happiness, there is pleasure. Get out of the capital city, because to me, this event is very historic. It will be the first that ECOWAS will be holding a parliamentary session, be it ordinary session or extraordinary session, outside of the capital city. We successfully hosted the delocalized meeting in July this year. And the Speaker of Parliament, Dr. Tunis, was very happy. Colleagues who came were given a good treat. And they are therefore happy to come back to Winneba in October to receive in multiple folds the pleasure they had. And we'll show them hospitality. From 92 to date, perhaps I'm the youngest ever to climb that seat. I want a situation where, God willing, if tomorrow I'm not there, and any young man comes up to say, I can do it, the people will say, we'll give you the chance.
So you're working to build a legacy.
Indeed. Indeed. And nothing less.
All right. And that's where we must end it. Thank you very so much, Honorable Afenyo Markin. Now we cannot shake hands, but at least we can give
we can shake and then use a sanitizer after.
So thank you very much for making some time for us on First Take. And you've been watching the Honorable Afenyo Markin. He is the Member of Parliament for Efutu in the Central Region, a Deputy Majority Leader who's been speaking with us on First Take. My name is Jifa Bampo. Thank you for watching.